In this video we're going to be looking at deforestation, how it ties into everything from mining practices, land reclamation, energy consumption. Now we know habitat destruction. We've looked at habitat destruction before when we focused on ecosystems, but this is where we render a natural habitat unfunctional, which it will not be able to support an original species at present. A big way to start by doing this would be to start the deforestation process, which is the complete removal of trees in a particular area from the land. Hack and slash, which we'll talk about later, is a big way of clearing the land, and usually you have remote villages in different areas, especially areas like the Amazon where you have a large supply of dense forestation that'll use a hack and slash process where they cut and burn to clear land for farming and ranching purposes. Now when we're looking at deforestation, we want to focus on some of these hot spots where you have high concentrations of species, whether it be plant and animal species, that are actually experiencing this type of deforestation or this type of habitat loss. Looking at the map, really focus on South America, especially in the southern part of Asia and China, where you have these rainforest type ecosystems, even Madagascar, these rainforest type ecosystems, because the rainforest type ecosystems that you're looking at on the map are where most of the habitat destruction is occurring. You have these areas that are not monitored by more industrialized countries. You have a lot of more remote villages, not a lot of access to means and necessary product, and so they go through the forest, especially these types of rainforest, and they cut them down for clearing of the land for the farming and for croplands as well. Some effects of habitat destruction, some of the biggest we've noticed, especially in New Orleans, back when Hurricane Katrina hit, you lose this habitat, you lose this, you have a decreased biodiversity. You're looking at loss of trees and topsoil and that ecosystem in general. That's going to have an impact on flooding in areas. Forests are really big at maintaining soil concentrations, holding soils together, absorbing a lot of extra water if, for example, heavy rains were to move through an area. So the removal of those forests, the removal of those habitats, those forested habitats, are going to take away the natural tank that would hold excess water, for example, if that were to occur. And so those results that you see, especially from Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans, was a direct link to the loss of those forested habitats. Some other effects of deforestation. This is going to definitely reduce the CO2 absorption process. Our trees, our forests are going to be big tanks, or carbon tanks, and without those, that's going to increase CO2 being absorbed by the atmosphere, because there's going to be a loss in where they can be stored in the natural environment. Soil erosion is a big thing. Tree roots are very, very good at stabilizing and keeping soil erosion from occurring. Without those forests, you're going to have soil erosion ramping up. You're going to have the loss of the topsoil. Without topsoil, you don't have the functionality of growth for plants. The four main factors that are causing this degradation of our forest: agriculture and ranching, that's the big one. And like I mentioned earlier, especially in these areas that are not industrialized, you have these small remote villages that are going through this hack and slash process, removing these forests for ranching and farming, and that's the number one factor that's causing this habitat destruction to occur, this deforestation to occur. Logging is another one. Very large demand for paper products, and logging is going to be directly tied with that. Most of the times after logging occurs, companies do not go in and replant large mature trees that are 50 plus years old, they go in and plant saplings. Very young, very small. It takes 50, 100 years for these saplings to grow to maturity, and so logging is going to have a big impact as well. And then you have the other two, the human settlement and then hunting and overfishing. Now, if you look at a human settlement, cities before they got there, you had forested, habitated areas. Once those cities went into place, those habitats and those forests were gone. And what led to that was the habitat destruction, the deforestation, to allow for human settlements and roads and cities to come in. A little bit more close look at agriculture. You're talking about, this is the primary cause of habitat destruction is agriculture. We need farmland, we need cattle ranching, we need cropland. Think about all the people in the world. All the people in the world that need food, whether it be cattle, beef, whether it be pork or pig, okay, they need this food, and so we have huge amounts of our once natural habitat given over to farmland for the raise and sell and processing of cattle and pigs, and then even the byproducts of that. For milk is a very big byproduct for a lot of our dairy functionality that we're looking at. This leads into things like desertification, salinization. I mentioned that hack and slash or slash and burn farming. Desertification, the way that works is you over farm an area, you over farm a land through crops and taking out so many nutrients each year with new croplands and new fields and new harvesting each year, that there's pretty much no more nutrients left in the land, and so a lot of extra fertilizer has to be put down for that land to be productive, and so that in essence is turning into a desert because of the lack of nutrients. Hack and slash is very similar to slash and burning. Slash and burn farming is chopping it down, burning it, getting it out of the way, and then putting in your farmland or your cropland. Instead of harvesting those trees for other uses, for other beneficial uses, it's just quick to cut it and burn it and move on. Looking at some examples, it's estimated that we've lost about 6 billion hectares. Now, a hectare is just another way of looking at measuring acres. It's a little bit bigger than an acre, but lost about 6 billion hectares to deforestation in the Pacific region. That's more than 50% of all wildlife habitats have been destroyed because of this. As a result of this, about 8% of the world's topsoil is lost annually. And topsoil, when we get to talking about soil, topsoil is where all of the nutrients, organic matter, natural fertilizer is going to be held for the growth of the plants and the habitat. And so the loss of 8% of that topsoil means that your desertification is occurring at greater speeds. Soil degradation. Looking at this map, the orange areas, the dark orange areas, are areas of serious concern. Notice the places in South America. Those are places directly linked with large forested habitats, especially in the southern part of Asia, getting into Madagascar, looking at Madagascar, looking in the southern parts of Africa as well. Even the U.S., if you focus on the U.S. map alone, where the large sections of dark orange areas are, those are the Great Plains. Those are the Great Plains. That's where most of our agriculture and farming areas are going to be found. Here's some statistics about logging. Okay, we're looking at about 21% per year of our logging methods are going to wipe out forested areas. And that's just due to commercial logging. You're looking at commercial logging for all the paper products. Some more statistics for you. Okay, about 11% of the land is cleared each year annually for cattle ranching. All right, whether that be cows or goats, deer, any type of domesticated animal for the raising. And these are a lot of your more remote villages and some of the more rainforest type ecosystems. Focusing on grasslands. All right, our grasslands are very vital, even though there's not a lot of large habitat for trees, are very vital to the functionality of an ecosystem as well. Our grasslands have actually diminished due to changing our grasslands into croplands and changing our grasslands into farmlands. Only about 1/10,000th of the original area is left of what our original grasslands were. That being the savannas, and that being the steppes over in Europe, and that being here in the U.S. with our prairies. About 1/10,000th of the original area is left as a result of changing most of it over to cropland and ranching. I mentioned desertification earlier, changing over an area, overusing it for croplands to the point to where it can no longer yield a product. Once again, look at the U.S. You're looking at the Great Plains, where we're doing most of our agriculture. Most of that land, most of that soil is more desert-like in its way to yield crops, because it can't do it unless we pump a lot of nitrogen, a lot of fertilizers back into that soil. A few more statistics. Okay, of all of the tropical rainforests that we once had, only 1% of the Earth is covered in tropical rainforest. Of that 1%, we've only got about 50% of it left. Okay, we've lost a lot of it to this cattle ranching, this slash and burn, this agricultural process. This deforestation has pretty much rendered our natural forest useless, to where we have almost nothing left of them. Now, if you're looking at the rainforest in the U.S., the boreal rainforest, we have less than 0.1% of those forests left, and we've seen videos where we've seen that less than 8% of our Madagascar forest remain due to ranching and agricultural processes. Here are just some pictures. Okay, Madagascar. Madagascar used to be full of a rainforest type habitat, and now you see hardly anything. You see a lot of erosion. Notice the picture. You see all of those crevices, landslides, hillocks. Okay, you're looking at erosion as the cause of that, because the lack of forest, the lack of trees. Look at the picture at the bottom. You can see the areas along the Amazon rainforest, along the Amazon and the rainforest, now along that river where deforestation has occurred to set up these croplands and these farmlands. Solutions. There's always solutions to everything. Obviously, policies, legislation, trying to monitor the use of these lands, trying to reclaim those lands, putting back what once was there. That's going to take time, but if we can put back what once was there, we can allow these lands to reclaim themselves on their own. But there are parks, reserves, protected areas to try to help preserve what little is left, and then hopefully reclamation can aid that and bring back some of what was once there. Also monitoring areas like the Amazon rainforest and some of these other rainforests that don't have large police activity to help monitor these situations, to try to go in and help and to try to preserve those places. In essence, that's deforestation. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Other than that,